Ještě než začneme. Chcete nebo mám? Dobrý den všem, vážené dámy, vážené páni, vážení pánové. Já vás vítám a teď si to musím vypnout, protože Ricardo?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You were on a mute.
Yeah, okay, so you can go ahead. Do you see everyone?
Yeah, I see everyone, so welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Just a very short introduction to our Charisma project, which is an Erasmus Plus project on which we focus on the risk management of cultural heritage. And my colleague from Rome, from Mazzini Lab, is going to introduce you the objectives of this project and then the web application. While our colleagues from Krems, University in Krems, with Dr. Kaiser, they will introduce the online course that we are currently developing and will soon for training of future risk managers. So please, Francesca, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank ITAM for organizing this event, and in particular, I would like to thank both Dalila and Riccardo for their great work. I will share my screen so I can start my presentation. Can you see the screen?
We can, Francesca.
Okay, perfect. So I will now give you a brief introduction and a brief overview on the Charisma project. As Riccardo said, the Charisma project is co-founded by the European Union through the Erasmus Plus program. And basically, the main objective of the Charisma project is to develop and pilot a new VET curriculum on the topic of risk management for cultural heritage. In fact, as you can tell, the name Charisma stands for Cultural Heritage Academy for Risk Management. So I will give you a brief overview on the concept that led us to start working on this project and to build this project with our consortium, as well as a brief presentation of the project partners that are part of the consortium. And lastly, a brief overview on the main activities and the main outcomes of the project. So the project concept that led us to build this project and to start thinking about the topic of this project are mainly three. First of all, climate change and its great impact on our lives and our professional activities. The second topic is the protection of cultural heritage and how we can protect and prevent risks that are emerging from climate change on cultural heritage. And the last one was the necessity of finding new skills and competencies for the protection of cultural heritage from the risks that are emerging from climate change. So climate change is our main basic topic. Obviously, climate change is having a profound impact on our lives and both on our natural world and on our human society. And we must act immediately to start to find ways to protect ourselves and our precious nature from the risks and the great disasters that are emerging from climate change. And climate change is also impacting the protection and the preservation of our precious cultural heritage. So we must find ways to protect our cultural heritage from these risks. And we strongly believe that protecting our cultural heritage from climate change is a commitment to safeguard our identity and our history for the future generations. Another important starting point was the fact that, in our opinion, it's necessary to find a new professional figure who is specialized in the protection of cultural heritage from the risks that are emerging from climate change. So it was necessary to start an analysis on which are the skills and competencies of this professional figure that we decided to call the risk manager for cultural heritage. So basically, this was the core topic of our project, and it will be big part of our outcomes, as you can tell from the activities. I will now briefly introduce you to the project partners. Mazzini Lab Società Benefit, the company that I represent, is from Rome, Italy, and our main, let's say, core business is the production, the development of risk management plans for museums, archives, and libraries, as well as some specialized training courses on the topic of risk management for cultural heritage. And we are a Società Benefit. That means that we have a strong commitment to the environmental, economic, and social sustainability in every single activity that we perceive. Another partner of the project comes from Austria, and it's the University for Continuing Education in Krems, which is a pioneer institution in the teaching of highly specialized courses on the topic of risk management for cultural heritage, especially with their specific department on cultural property protection. Then there is another partner from Italy, which is the Water Resources Research Documentation Center, which is a specific department of the Università per Stranieri di Perugia. And basically, they are super expert in the analysis of the hydrogeological risk in Europe. Then, obviously, there is Czech Republic with the Institute of Theoretical and Applied Mechanics, but I don't think I have to introduce you to this partner. And last but not least, we have Germany with Arte Generali, which is the specific department of the insurance company Generali, specifically dedicated to the insurance for fine arts and cultural heritage. So we thought it would be great to have their point of view on the project, because basically they are the ones who work the most with risk managers. So it's great to have their point of view on this project. So now I will give you a brief introduction to our project activities and our main outcomes. Basically, the project has 4 main outcomes: the analysis of the current situation, a report on the skills and competencies of the risk manager for cultural heritage, a web app for risk assessment, and a specialized training course. So project result number 1 is the study on risk assessment and management of cultural heritage across Europe. Basically, it is an in-depth analysis of the state-of-the-art situation of risk management around Europe. And it works on 3 main topics: the literature situation around risk management, the legal framework on risk management for cultural heritage in Europe, and the building of stakeholder maps that with institutions that would be potentially interested in hiring a risk manager for cultural heritage. And all of our outcomes, you can download all of our outcomes from the website. You can also scan these, this slide. Project result number 2 was the one for which ITAM was in charge, and is the skills and competencies profile of the risk manager of cultural heritage in Europe. And basically, we try to build a set of skills and competencies that this professional figure of the risk manager for cultural heritage should have to fill this gap in the labor market. And what we tried to do was to identify which are the skills that in some ways are already put in place and that are related to risk management for cultural heritage. And on the other hand, which are the skills that are lacking and so that needs to be tackled and trained. Project result number 3 is a prototype of a risk assessment platform, so a web app for the development or risk assessment project in cultural heritage institution. I will present you in a minute the app. And our last project result is a certified training course for risk manager of cultural heritage. We are developing a new VET curriculum to match these job needs for the cultural heritage sector. And basically, we are building blended course, so both an online MOOC and true in-presence module. One of these modules, we did one of these last week in Austria, and I'm sure that Dr. Kaiser will tell you something about that. And we are planning to do another module in Italy in January. So that was it for first overview on the project. And if there are no questions, I can go straight on the web app presentation. Dalila, what do you think? I don't know if there are questions in the room.
No. Okay, we'll continue. Francesca, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, as I said, the Charisma web app is one of the main outcomes of the Charisma project, and Mazzini Lab Società Benefit was in charge of this outcome. With this presentation, I will try to give you a brief overview on the web app, telling you about the benefits and a very brief guide on how to use the app, because we strongly invite you to test the app. It is available on our website, and you can ask us for an account and we can create an account so you can test it. And we are really open to new user testing the app and giving us feedback so we can improve its features. Basically, the app was created with the main objective and the main intention of creating a tool, a training tool to help the user understand how to implement a risk assessment project for an institution that preserves cultural heritage. So it is a training tool. It is not super detailed because we try to keep it really simple in order to be easier for someone who does not have specific training on risk management for cultural heritage. It is organized as a checklist, so the app will help you understand which are the most important elements inside an institution, inside a collection, a building, that you should assess to to consider to analyze the risks that are affecting that particular collection. So basically, it will give you a logical order to the elements that you should assess to understand the risk levels inside an institution of cultural heritage. The app is full of training materials that all the partners have created for the users. And basically, these training materials will help you understand even more why it is important to assess that particular element and which are the reasons that lead you to investigate that particular element, and which are the influence that that element could have on the risk level of the institution. The app is divided into 4 main sections: the general information, the environmental context, building feature, and cultural heritage. And I will explain to you in detail each one of those. The general information section basically collects all the basic information about the institutions that such as, for example, those in charge, the type of institution, and there are also 2 questions related to the emergency teams of the institution, whether there are emergency teams for the evacuation of both the personnel in case of emergency and the collection in case of emergency. So let's say that this section will give you a rough overview of the institution. Then we have the environmental context, and this section was created to analyze all the environmental elements that can in some way influence the risk levels inside the building, and so to assess all the risks that insist on the collection that are coming from the external context. Then we have the building feature, and this part is devoted to analyze the building structures and how these structure could influence the risk level on the collection. Obviously, again, this is not super detailed, but we try to identify which are the main features that can in some way influence the risk. So it is a training tool, and it won't give you a super detailed risk management plan, but this will give you a first rough overview of the risk of the institution. The last section is the cultural heritage section, where you can analyze a little bit more in detail the collection, and so you can have an overview of the materials that are preserved in that particular building, and so therefore the vulnerabilities of the artworks to some specific risk. At the end of the assessment, there is an alert section, and basically this section could be used to obtain a basic overview on the risk level analyzed inside the structure. Because while you answer the question, depending on how you answer to some question, different alerts will be activated, and those questions will be linked to a particular typology of risk. And so basically the app will automatically create a chart with visualization of the risk levels inside that particular institution. Again, this is not a risk management plan, a detailed risk management plan, but it is something that could be used to make a first rough idea of the risk level inside the institution and to start working on building a proper risk management plan. You can assess the app. Again, as I said, if you want, you can go to our website and go to the web app section, and you can ask us for an account so we can create it for you and you can test the app. So thank you very much again. I think that would be great if I could share with you for a second an overview of the app. So this is the dashboard. Basically, you will find inside the app, these are all the training materials, so you can click on them and you will have some training materials on the specific topics that are tackled inside the app. And then if you enter here on the detection card section, you will find a detection card here, and you can start filling out all the section. This one is general information, as I said. Then there is the environmental context. As you can see, the app is full of training materials, so they will guide you in filling out your checklist and understand the reasons why it is important to assess that particular element. So again, this was the environmental context. Then there is the building features with all of the question and the training materials. And lastly, we have the cultural heritage section. Again, with all of the materials and the questions. I will also show you the alert chart. Here it is. So as you can see, I try to fill out this sheet, and this is what the web app has automatically created depending on how I answered to some specific questions. So basically, we will have 5 different risk typologies: emergency management, environmental condition, anthropic risk, fire risk, and hydrogeological risk. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you very much again to ETAM, to all the team, and to the whole consortium for their hard work. And I am available for any question. And again, I kindly invite you to go to our website and ask for an account so you can test the app. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Thank you. Any question until you? Do you have any questions? So Ricardo or Anna?
Yeah, I think now Anna can move on and present the training course. So please, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me online. I'm very happy to be with you, at least in this version, and best regards from sunny Austria to Telch. I'm going to present to you the training programs. Francesca has already mentioned some of them briefly, and I'm going to give you a much more detailed insight into that. Yes. So in Charisma, as Francesca already said, we have an online training program that we are developing that is available as an online massive open online course. And then we have additional on-site training programs. One of them was hosted last week in Austria, and I'm going to give you some more details on that later on to give you an example of how these additional programs can look like based on the online versions that we are developing. Throughout all the training material we are developing, we are dealing mainly with threats to cultural and natural heritage. We try to not separate those two, since they are very important to work together, obviously. And we range those threats to cultural and natural heritage from neglect on a daily basis, and then getting much more dynamic in appearance, natural catastrophe, but also terrorism and armed conflict. So the latter two are only there to be assessed on the sidelines. The main focus of our project, and of course the training program, is natural catastrophes linked to climate change, as was already said in the former presentations. And what we also try to do, and this is why the human beings are on this slide, is to bring the human beings, the people to whom the cultural heritage belongs to, into the project, but also into the training and into the assessment of the risks and threats to cultural heritage. There are a few recent examples that I picked that kind of showed the world how important it is to plan and to prepare for cultural heritage protection. You all know them. One of them is the fire in the National Museum in Brazil in 2018. Then there was the fire of the church in Notre Dame in Paris in 2019. And on the other side, water-related damage in 2021 in Ahrweiler in Germany with the big floods, just to name a few. And only this year in 2023, we've seen so many natural catastrophes damaging people, livelihoods, but also cultural heritage in the news, in the TV. So we are all very well aware of what is going on and how important this topic is. And within our training programs, we work within the disaster management cycle where we have the incident and a response to the incident. We have a recovery phase, we have a mitigation phase, and very important, the preparedness phase. And this preparedness phase is what we are focusing on in our training to make sure that we have emergency plans developed, we have them ready so that we can react the best possible way to any incident that strikes and damages cultural or natural heritage. And what we also try to do is to link different players in the field of cultural heritage. And this, as we've seen in several projects so far, and again see in the Charisma project, this depends on the national situation, the legal situation in the individual countries in Europe. It's not in every country that volunteers can work in the protection of cultural heritage. But in some they can be of very valuable assistance. The owners of cultural heritage are very important, heritage professionals, NGOs working in these fields, public institutions, civil society as in general, but also international organizations. They all can work together to prepare cultural heritage for the worst, but also in the response phase to make sure that cultural heritage is saved as best as possible. And this is the basis on which we are building our training programs in Charisma. And these are the things that are also very much part of our training program. So we make sure that cultural heritage is perceived as part of society and important part of people's lives. And there is no separation between people and cultural and natural heritage. So what are the training programs that we are developing? It has already been said there are two types of training programs. One is the online version, and then there are on-site trainings. The online version is built as a massive open online course, which means that this material can be started, this training course can be started at any time that you want to start it once it's finished. There are individual modules. There are 8 modules in there, and they're mainly composed of video lectures by experts and further reading material to get more into detail regarding the topics that are treated in the individual modules. And if you take all of these 8 modules plus delve into the reading material, it takes you about 100 hours in total to finish this training program. And in addition to that, we have the on-site trainings that are conducted within the project. So the online course stays online and free, available after the project has finished. The 2 on-site trainings take place within the project lifespan. One of them was in Austria last week, in the western part of Austria for Arlberg. And the other one, the second one, is going to take place in Italy in January 2024. So there is still the possibility for you to participate if you want to. And these on-site trainings are based on parts of the online course. So you have a pre-learning phase with parts of this online course. Then you come on site, get some practical sessions on site as the completion to the online course parts. And all in all, these on-site trainings take about 50 hours to complete. But most of that time is spent within the 1 week on site. The online course is hosted on the iMOOCs platform. iMOOCs is a platform specializing on massive open online courses and is funded by an Austrian ministry, co-funded by an Austrian ministry, which means that this platform is going to stay online for years to come, which was very important for us to, in this decision, where are we going to place this online course? And I'm going to give you more details on the iMOOCs platform on the next slide. As I said, once the course is finished or prepared, finally, then you can start the program at any time you want to. You register on this platform, and then you take your time to complete the course. And the structure is that there is one mandatory introductory module, which gives you basic information on cultural heritage. Why is it important to protect it? What are threats to cultural heritage? And this mandatory introductory module opens up the participation to any other module. So you have one introductory module, and then you can choose between 7 different modules, all of them tackling different topics within cultural heritage and its protection. And they're all in themselves closed. So it's absolutely fine if you take module 1 and then you follow up with module 4, and then you decide, okay, module 2 would have been interesting for me as well. So you can pick and choose whatever you want from these modules. You don't have to do all of them. And for each completed module, you can get micro credentials, and you get the certificate from the iMOOCs platform that you successfully finished this module. So there are short quizzes in there to make sure that you've been through all the lectures, that you've done all the topics that are treated within this module, and that you have kind of a passing test to get these micro credentials for the individual modules. The iMOOCs platform, you can, it's online. I put the website there for you. You can either search for a particular course, a particular name. You can search for keywords, cultural heritage, for example, or you can search, browse by categories: natural sciences, practical science, human medicine, agricultural sciences, social sciences, and humanities. And at the moment, I took the screenshot today, there are 152 courses online. They are at university level, and there are 86,000 students registered to this platform at the very moment. And this was also a very important aspect for us to choose this platform, because the platform itself advertises its courses, which means that automatically the 86,000 people get the information that our Charisma training is online and can be started whenever they want to, which is also very important for us. And we've seen in predecessor projects that online courses like this have a massive outreach, not only when it comes to numbers of people participating, but also to countries origin, where people come from, where these students come from that actually take the courses on iMOOCs. And we don't have data for the Charisma course because it's not yet online, but we ran 2 test runs for a predecessor project, which was Cultural Heritage Protection in Climate Change Online, another Erasmus Plus project. And I'm showing you here on the screen now the countries of origin the people came from that participated in the second test run that we took for this project. And you see that they came, mainly from Austria, Italy, have a strong project partners in there. ETEM was one of the project partners as well. But they also came from the US, from Great Britain, from Australia, from Greece, from India, Bangladesh, Egypt, basically all over the world, which is a great potential of these online courses. The contents of the Charisma course. So as I said, you have this mandatory starting module, which highlights the importance of cultural heritage, threats to cultural heritage, and gives you kind of a kick-off into the topic. And then other follow-up modules individually treat the topics threats for cultural heritage with a focus on seismic and hydraulic threats. There's risk assessment in there, disaster management, prioritization of cultural heritage, a very important and difficult topic. The development of emergency plans for cultural heritage, damage assessment, so after an incident has happened, stabilization, talking about buildings here mostly, then the treatment and handling of different materials. Here we are mostly talking about movable heritage, and very important, as mentioned at the beginning of this intervention, roles and involvement of stakeholders and people. So how to keep cultural heritage connected to the people also in times of disaster, and how to make the best use of the people that own the cultural heritage when it comes to protecting and respecting it during an emergency situation. That's the online program that we are developing. It's going to be live by the end of the year, approximately. And then we have those two on-site programs. One happened last week in Austria, and the second one will be in January in Italy in 2024. And they are structured in a way that they build on parts of the online course, and then lectures, supplement topics are brought into the course on-site. And these supplement topics on-site deal with the creation, implementation of emergency plans, the assessment of monetary value of cultural heritage, mainly linked to insurances, the vulnerability of cultural heritage, and these weeks focus on different types of cultural heritage and threat. And I'm going to give you a bit of an insight what we did last week in Austria. This was a risk management summer school, already in September, on risk management for historical buildings and monuments. And we were in the western part of Austria, so for Arlberg. What you see here on the screen is Austria. We have Switzerland here, and we have Germany here. So all three countries coming together at Lake Constance. And we've been dealing with three archives mainly. So the whole week was based here in Dornbirn, and we dealt with an archive in Eck, we dealt with an archive in Lindau, and we visited a depot, art depot, library depot, and the library in Bregenz to see how they handle different situations. And the archives that we dealt with, the three archives, were all situated in historical buildings. So the participants of the summer school of this training week, they were split up in syndicate working groups, and each syndicate working group got one archive to work with the entire week to gather all kind of data to prepare the basic versions of an emergency plan, so that the owners of the cultural heritage institutions of the archives, they can carry on working on this basis that was developed within this week. On the screen now, you see the building of the archive in Dornbirn. Here is the surroundings and insight into the archive in Eck. And this is the German archive in Lindau, on the island of Lindau, the old town in Lindau. And you see the archive here marked with a red circle, and the old town of Lindau on the other picture. And all three of these archives had two things in common. There's mainly paper material in there, of course, as an archive. And all three of them were not built to be an archive, but had to be adapted, which also posed some challenge for the participants developing the first steps of an emergency plan for these institutions. We tried to work along very easy steps to create an emergency plan, and the main part that was done during this week was risk analysis. And this risk analysis was mainly done along the lines of the Charisma web app, which was presented to you by Francesca. And I'm going to show you some pictures from the Bregenzerwald archive in Eck, which was the syndicate working group that I got to accompany during this week. You see the archival building, the old building here, never built as an archive, then adapted into an archive. And the archive is at the lower part of the building, the upper stories. They are apartments still in use today. And there you see the working group doing an outside assessment of the surroundings of the building itself. And on this picture, you see the manager of the archive answering a lot of questions, but giving us a lot of information on internal data of the archive, of the building, on emergency plans they have in place, things they want to build up for the future. So all the participants got a lot of information, could work with real objects, develop real emergency plans. That could not be tested for all of the sites. That's a pity, but if you only fit so much things into 1 week. So education training, which is another important part on the slide for building an emergency plan, and usually stands at the end of the emergency plan to make sure that it's really sound and safe and kind of bulletproof. We've switched a bit around the ranking of these points and did during this week a material handling exercise. Since the material we dealt with, the movable material, was mainly paper, we did a handling exercise on wet paper, and to give all the participants a brief insight into how different archival materials react to water, which is one of the main threats for these archives. And also how important it is to be prepared, to have some material available for the very first steps of first aid to cultural heritage, of course, depending on whatever material you have. Then in Lindau, in the German archive, we also did an evacuation exercise. We started the week off with an evacuation exercise, to be precise. So we had the challenge, participants had the challenge to evacuate parts of the archive, and a firefighting exercise actually took place at this archive. And on the next slide, you see the debriefing of the command of the firefighters with the participants of this training week. So this is kind of in a nutshell what we managed to squeeze into 1 week. There was a lot of practical work for the participants and the challenge to work with real life objects and real life people, real life owners of cultural heritage, and to assess their needs as well, and the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis, and to develop the first steps towards an emergency plan. And these first steps were then presented to the owners of the archives at the end of the week on Friday, and given to them as a basis to continue their preparation work for their archives for emergencies. And if you want to participate, and Francesca already said that, if you want to participate in the next training program that we have on site in this project, this is going to take place in Italy in January 2024. The dates are being set at the moment, and yeah, look out for this next on-site training program and join us there. Thanks a lot. It was great being here with you, and this ends my presentation. I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Anna. You have any questions? No, all clear? Okay. Thank you again, Francesca and Anna. Ricardo, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. So just one remark. So please, if you, as Anna was saying, if you want to get involved in the training course or in the testing of web application, please contact the leader of the project, which is Mazzini Lab, any of the partners or any of the speakers. You have the email address on the presentations. And say this, thanks again to the presenters, to Francesca, to Anna, for being so clear, punctual. So we are perfect on time. We're actually maybe a bit ahead of schedule, which is, I think, thing. And thanks to the audience. So to the audience for being with us this afternoon. So thank you very much for that. Thank you also to the audience which is following the streaming site and on YouTube. And then thanks to the ITAM team, to Dalila, to Jakub Novotny also for the organization, Professor Dradatsky, Pospisil as well for support. And that's all from my side. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Riccardo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.